Try to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark, aka Derringer. Today is Sunday, June 16th, and you are listening to episode 213 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for planet-side news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. So speaking of that Support the Show tab, I think we'll start off this week's show and kind of cover this. My saga with Amazon and the affiliates program appears to have finally come to an abrupt end because if you guys saw on Twitter this past week, they suspended my account again. They basically had opened a second account using a different email address, but obviously linking the same information to it, and apparently their algorithms or their bean counters or whatever realized, made the connection that this account was tied to my previous account, and therefore they banned me again. So at this point, I unfortunately need to part ways with Amazon, which, just between you and me, I'm a little sad about because I am so deep in the Amazon architecture right now. I have a couple of Alexas in the house. I have a Fire TV, a Fire Stick on one of my TVs. I shop on Amazon all the time. I use Amazon all the time. But this has completely soured me to Amazon right now. The sad part is I'm just a small podcaster. I'm one person just doing this in my spare time. And as I've always said, I just want to keep this cost neutral. I don't make anything from this show much, and anything that I do make goes directly into server costs and things like that. It's occasionally I throw stuff back at the community, like with Aflix 200,000th anchor kill. They had a whole bunch of people join his channel, and I think I threw 25 subs at his channel, for people watching his channel, just to give back to the community and things like that, because I like doing stuff like that. It felt good when I had some spare money that wasn't going to server costs that I could do something like that. And unfortunately, with Amazon doing this to me and basically shutting me off and saying I cannot, and refusing any appeals that I have made, saying that, you broke the rules, that's it. You have no recourse for that. Unfortunately, I've got to break my ties with them. And again, it's really disappointing because I am a huge fan of Amazon. Like I said, I do tons of shopping on Amazon. To that extent, though, I haven't bought a damn thing from Amazon since they decided to screw me over and stop my participation in that program. And there's been times when I'm like, oh, I need this, or I need X, or I need Y. And I said, screw it. I'm not going to buy it from Amazon. I'll buy it local instead, and maybe I'll pay a couple extra dollars for what I'm getting, but I'm not going to give Amazon my money in the meantime because I don't think that they deserve it at this point. Now, while that may be the sad side of news, for me, not for you guys, obviously, the good side of this news is, though, that a few of you saw my tweet and complaint and bitching about Amazon and how they screwed me over, or how, in my mind, at least, I think they screwed me over. I mean, an argument can be made that they had a set of rules and I broke those rules. And there are no second chances for that. That's one way to look at it. My way, I feel like I've been screwed over. But again, a few of you decided to take matters into your own hands. Specifically, Lex and FaborOne, both of you deigned to make a donation directly to the show via PayPal. And I can happily say that you two alone have enabled me to pay for next year's server costs 100%. So that money that you guys sent over to me, like I said, I've put it aside already, and that's going to pay for 2020. All the server costs that I have in 2020. So I can guarantee that 2020 right now, just because of the two of you, is going to be 100% cost neutral for me. And I really can't thank the two of you enough. And, funny, Lex, even in his comment on Twitter says, I hate the game, but he likes what I do for the community. I found that hilarious. And FaborOne put together an entire video this week about why he gave me this donation. And honestly, it was very humbling. And I'm going to include a link to his video so you guys can go and watch it. I recommend that you follow his channel, subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. From what he puts out, he basically says that he's finally making some money monetizing his YouTube videos with ad revenue, and he was able to give to people in the community and chose me as the first one. And again, I can't tell you how humbling it is to have guys like these two and the countless other members of this community that have donated money in the past, or donated even when we were back doing Reachcast and stuff like that. There were quite a few of you, and I was always flabbergasted that you guys would think that what I'm putting out, or what the guys were putting out back then, you deemed worthy of throwing a couple dollars to here and there, just to kind of keep us afloat, so that we didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. And I continue to be humbled by acts of generosity like Lex and like FaborOne this past week. So again, if you also want to jump on the bandwagon and get a shout out from me on the show for making a donation to the show, if you go to instantactionpodcast.com, and right at the top of the page, underneath the banner for, the image banner for the site, there is a tab that says support the show. If you click on that tab, you'll see you can make a direct donation via PayPal. That's what these guys did, and I really, really appreciate it. You can also go to instantactionpodcast.com/support-the-show, and that will get you there as well. Unfortunately, I can't ask you guys to use Amazon any longer. So I've gone a little long on this, but I just need to do enough to say thank you to these guys and everybody else in the community who has donated to me in the past. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And without that, I couldn't do what I do each week for the community, because, again, costs would just exceed what I can throw at this just as side pocket money to keep the show going. So again, I really appreciate everybody who has donated to the show in the past. But enough about that. What's in store for this week's show? Well, it was extremely quiet on the part of Daybreak Games this week. So I have a very small piece of news to cover to start with. But in lieu of game news after that, I'm going to spend some time talking about my opinions regarding the Nanite Systems Operatives. We're about 2 months in from their launch, and I've been playing them not nonstop, but enough to give you my opinions and thoughts on it, and maybe the devs will listen to that as well. I'm also going to spend some time talking about a question was posed by the community: what should I spend money on in-game right now? And so if you want to support PlanetSide 2, I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. And then finally, for all the newer players in, because this has been a constant comment on the Reddit page, what are the infantry loadouts that people should be using? And the PlanetSide 2 community in their Discord was good enough to put together a few loadouts that people should be using, and I'm going to talk about those today as well. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. So first up this week, like I said, just a small piece of news about the game. It was, again, there's almost nothing on Reddit this week. The folks over at Daybreak Games have been extremely quiet, which makes me think that they're gearing up for a pretty big update to come out. I know that they had teased that we would be getting an update very soon, and honestly, I kind of expected it last week, but I also kind of feel that they might be a little gun shy about releasing a game update late in the week. So we've seen a lot of Thursday, Friday game updates recently, or Thursday game updates mostly, and then a quick hot fix on Fridays as well, because some bugs were introduced on the Thursday. So I'm wondering if they're a little gun shy on releasing a game update this past week and are going to sit on it a little longer. So I wouldn't be surprised if this coming week we see some sort of game update or some sort of hot fix to address a lot of the stuff that's on PTS that hasn't come its way to live yet. That being said, Wrel did have a small tweet where we got a little bit of information. He tweeted about the spawn beacon refund, saying that you need to log out and then log back in. If you're having trouble with the spawn beacon refunds, you'd have an issue where if you logged in for the first time, and I talked about this last week, if you logged in, you would get the notification that your beacon has been refunded, but then you couldn't drop a new beacon until you logged out of the game and logged back in. So again, that's just a PSA. If you log into your game and and this is the first time that you're accepting the refund for spawn beacons, note that you're going to have to log out and log back in for them to work again. But somebody asked a question about the spawn system, Empire-specific Top Guns, the Thumper, and things like that. And Wrel did take a few moments to talk about that. And he did say that spawn system issues should be fixed next week, if not later today. And of course, that didn't happen. So I would expect them to come this next week coming up. So brace yourselves for that. I'm sure there'll be that to talk about next week. He did go on to say that Empire-specific Top Guns aren't being prioritized at the moment. These are the guns that someone felt like they had, quote-unquote, unearthed on PTS, even though they've been there for a while. He says they're not working on those. But then he did drop a new piece of information that is brand new, saying that the Wasp is being scrapped in lieu of something different later on down the line. Now, this kind of came out of left field. There hasn't been a lot of talk about the Wasp. For those that don't even know what the Wasp is, it was a Valkyrie variant which was able to mine cordium, and this was something that was going to be given to the faction that won the Ant alert. What the heck's the name of that alert? Refine and Refuel was the name of that particular alert, and that's one where Sunderers and Ants are free, and the refineries spawn on your map, and then you need to fill them, and they blast off into space. Again, you'd win whichever faction won that alert. They determined that they were going to get access to the Wasp, and if I recall correctly, the Wasp just was being thrown out there occasionally for people to use, but I don't believe that it was being tied to this alert itself. But again, he says that it's being scrapped, which was kind of surprising because it seemed like an interesting little niche type of vehicle to use in the game itself, and kind of gave you a reason to win the alert. I mean, you could certainly harvest cordium a lot faster if you're flying rather than driving. So I wonder what the thought process behind the scrapping of this was. I don't really know. I didn't see anything regarding this. And there certainly wasn't a response from Wrel on the Reddit post. I mean, the only thing that I can think of is that they're just going to give the mining laser to the Valkyrie. That might make more sense than just, making a special vehicle just to do it. Again, I'm just kind of speculating on that. I've heard nothing about that. There's no reason that they would do something like that. I mean, that would be the only thing that I could think of as to, why they wouldn't be doing the Wasp itself. But again, that was really the biggest piece of new news that we got this week. Other than that, the person did ask about the Thumper as well, and Wrel said that the Thumper slated to be released later this month. So that's good news. That means barring any unforeseen circumstances, we should see the Thumper before the end of June, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to playing around with the Thumper on my NS Operative, and probably unlocking it on all my other factions as well, because the Thumper weapon is kind of cool. I mean, I think I called it Lasher 2.0. You know me, I'm a huge Lasher fan. I Araxian Ball 3 on my VS characters, so I love me some Lasher. So I'm going to love me some Thumper when it comes out as well. So again, that's all the news that we've gotten out of Daybreak Games this past week. It was extremely quiet over there. So like I said, I'm going to talk about some other stuff in-game, and let's move on to Nanite System Operatives about 2 months in. So to talk about Nanite System Operatives and again, we're not at exactly 2 months. I mean, we're getting close to 2 months in, and that's why I said I wanted to talk about it at this point. And it was actually brought up by a post by someone with the name of Enter Name in Field, not somebody I know, but they wrote that the NSO feels infuriating on Reddit. And I read through this post, and I can't say that I disagree with everything that they wrote. So I thought that it would be worthwhile for someone like me who is a member of the game and has had access to the NS Operatives since the beginning when they went live, and has been playing them quite a bit, actually. Not enough to unlock anything crazy on them. I mean, I've seen people who have already unlocked like the Infiltrator. Somebody posted last week that they did the Infiltrator directive on their NS Operatives. I don't play the game enough to do something like that. Like I said, I usually play my 2 hours a night, most nights, and that's about it. But I feel like I do have a handle on NS Operatives and some of the good, some of the bad regarding it. So let's talk about that just for a few minutes right now. Now, my biggest gripe with the NS Operatives. Now, there's a lot that I like about the NS Operatives. Let's make no mistake there. I think that they're a cool idea for the game itself. They're not necessarily a fourth faction, but I do like the fact that I can play all three factions on the NS Operatives, carry my participation across, no matter what faction that I play. But there are some issues with the NS Operatives themselves, and the majority of those issues for me are surrounding squad or outfit play with the NS Operatives. Now, most of you know at this point that I play the majority of my game sessions right now with B-Way. And if I don't play with B-Way, I'm off playing with the guys in Backs and Joke, and things like that. But that's where I spend the majority of my time. So if I want to play my NSO character with B-Way, I need to, most of the time, because B-Way is a primarily VS outfit, when I log in on my NSO character, I need to spend the first 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes of ops trying to get on the same continent as them with the faction that they're playing. Now, don't get me wrong, NS Operatives, the idea of allowing a player to always play the lowest popped faction is good, because it helps balance out the three factions on a continent at any given time. The thought process behind it, I feel, is good. I don't have any problems with that. The problems, again, arise if I'm trying to play with an organized squad or outfit, because the first 5, 10, 15, one night I spent 20 minutes. That's the most I've spent trying to get the exact faction I wanted on the continent I wanted so that I could play with my outfit was infuriating at best. I have a lot more colorful words. I believe that I uttered the phrase "fuck not again" multiple times when I was unable to. Most recently we were playing TR, and I didn't really want to play. I don't like TR, and hate me if you want, because you love TR. I don't enjoy playing my TR character, so as a result, I was like, well, if I'm going to be forced to play TR, I might as well play my NS operative because I can play TR and I'll get some pluses for playing my NS operative. And again, it took me 20 minutes to get onto the continent. Now, getting onto the continent is instantaneous. There's no issues getting on the continent because it always drops you to the least populated faction. The problem was TR was the middle populated faction, so it kept dropping me on Vanu, and then even when it was 33, 33, 33, it still kept dropping me on Vanu rather than TR, and it took me a lot of bouncing back and forth of continents trying to get there. And then every time I'd switch over to the other continent, half the time I would fall through the world and fall to my death and wouldn't be able to instant action or join combat before or redeploy before I would die, and that would take time as well. It was an absolute pain in the ass, and that makes me feel that NSO is not working well with squad and outfit play. If I was a lone wolf player, which I don't think is a good type of player in PlanetSide 2, again, that's my personal opinion, but for a lone wolf player, playing NSO is a no-brainer because you're always underpopped. You're always fighting against the greater numbers. And if you're a good player, you can always you should always be able to get more kills than other people because you've got more bodies being thrown at you. But again, playing it as a squad outfit, it feels like it doesn't work for me. I don't know that I have a real solution to that, though, except possibly saying whatever you're logged in as, and this is after you're able to get on what you want, that is not going to change you if you switch continents, because, again, we hit the issue where the continent locked and we moved over to the next continent, and I couldn't get on the right faction on my NSO character when I tried to move over, and so I chose to log off rather than continue playing the game that night. And that just kind of feels wrong to me. That's not the right direction that this should go. So perhaps the one solution to that is if you switch continents, you could potentially stay on the same if you've been playing for a while. But even then, that's going to defeat the purpose of bouncing back continent to continent if you're trying to get to the one faction that you want. And again, I understand, and people are going to say it, that the solution is create a character in all three factions and play that character, and that's your solution. And yeah, I get that. But again, like I said, I don't really like playing my TR character, and therefore this was my solution to it. Now, some other complaints that I have with it is the vehicle issue. I don't like not having a main battle tank. I don't like not having an ESF. At times, it feels extremely slow getting from point A to point B. Obviously, ESFs with afterburners go a lot faster than the Valkyrie or the Galaxy or the Liberator, for that matter. I guess I could probably pull Liberators more, but I don't think I have afterburners even certed on my Liberators. So that's kind of out for me. I don't really like that. And then, I mean, we can talk about the guns on the NSO. Now, while you're getting access to NS weapons is kind of cool, there's an issue where, and Enter Name and Field points this out best, that two of the directives, the long rifles and the close quarters combats, are locked behind paywalls in addition to membership. In order to do those two, you have to have either a black or a gold reskin of a weapon in them even to complete them. And as we know, the black variants of the weapons themselves, well, they're going to cost more. The gold ones are going to cost more than just the regular one, just because you're getting a special skin on it, which it's just, I don't like the fact that there's an additional paywall in addition to just having to have membership in order to access the NS operatives themselves. So 2 months in, the main question that I need to ask myself is, do I enjoy playing my NS operative character? And the ultimate answer to that is yes, I do enjoy playing my NS operative character. I just don't like getting to play my NS Operatives character. And again, that getting to the proper faction continent that I want is what's really making me play NS Operatives less than I would if it was working exactly like I wanted it to work. So, I mean, perhaps fixing the issue is if you're in a squad, then you are locked to whatever faction you're in. So, I mean, then if you do make that continent shuffle to get the proper, quote unquote, proper faction, and then join your outfit squad, and then you're locked into that faction, that might be the only thing that would make me happy, but it's still going to take me that time to get there. And I don't like the fact, again, about the paywalls. But other than that, I do enjoy playing the NS Operatives. But I don't know at this point that I'd really say get membership just to play NS Operative unless you like the challenge of paying for that paywall and then jumping continent back and forth trying to get the faction that you want. Again, if you're a lone wolf player, NS Operatives is probably great for you, except for the paywall for the long rifles and CQC directive. But other than that, I don't think NS Operatives are terrible at all. But as other people have pointed out, again, it might be better to just make a character in each of the three factions and go that way. But again, I like the robot faction. I like the look of the robots. They look cool and stuff like that. So I'm kind of torn on NS Operatives right now. I enjoy playing it. I hate getting to the place where I can play it, and hopefully there might be some changes coming down the pipeline for it. But with that, let's move on to our third topic this week about spending money. So, like I said, third topic this week is about spending money in-game because another user on Reddit, and this is Fergrim85, asked, what's the best/most efficient use of my money here? And he said that he enjoys playing PlanetSide 2, but it's been a while since he's spent any money on the game, and he now does have a small amount of gaming tagged cash that he thought he would throw towards PlanetSide 2 as a way to get something for himself in-game and also help the developers of PlanetSide 2 as well. So kudos on you, Fergrim85, for wanting to throw some money at PlanetSide 2. And he says that he has around $25, certainly no more than $50. And he wants to know what's the most effective use of his money. Is it buying specific things for vehicles? Is it buying a gun? Is it buying membership? Is it buying boosters? What can he do in the game itself? How can he spend his money within the game itself? And there's really just a quick answer to this question. Because if you're a new player to the game, you shouldn't be buying any guns at all. You also shouldn't be buying any attachments. I would highly advise against buying implant packs or anything like that. Those are too akin to loot boxes for my taste. The one thing, if you have $25 to spend on PlanetSide 2, I think it probably $25 to $50, I guess. What it makes the most sense to me for you to purchase in PlanetSide 2 right now is membership. And that is one of the things that he asked. And I think the consensus of the community is also that if you have some money to spend in PlanetSide 2, you should spend it on membership. Because if you spend it on membership in PlanetSide 2, you do have some perks for membership. And again, membership is $14.99 a month. And for your $14.99, you're going to get 500 Daybreak cash that you can claim each month. You're going to get 10% off marketplace purchases. So anything that you purchase within the game itself, skins, camo, guns, basically anything you spend Daybreak cash on, you're going to get 10% off. But bigger than that, you're going to get plus 50% experience. You're going to get plus 50% resources. You're going to get an additional plus 3% experience for every member that's in your squad. You're going to get 48 passive certs a day. You're going to be able to participate in at least one monthly double XP weekend. You're going to get login queue priority. So basically, anybody who's not a member is put in a second login queue, and you're shuffled to the front of it. You're going to get access to the members-only daily sales that go on, even though those are buggy right now, and I didn't really talk about that. But those are bugged, and they will be fixed. They're still out there, but they don't display readily on your screen. You're going to get 3 additional character slots, and you're going to get 3 additional custom loadouts. You're also going to get access to the NS Operative class, which I just talked about in the last one, which it's funny that I said I can't really recommend NS Operatives unless you're a lone wolf player, yet that is one of the benefits for being a member. But then, again, the last one is you get access to the ASP system for free if you're a member. Now, if you're not a member, that costs 10,000 certs, which is a lot of certs. But if you're a member, and even if you're a member for 1 month and you're BR 100 on your character, you can immediately unlock ASP and get an ASP point that you can spend on an ASP certification. So, again, right now, if you have $25 to $50 to spend on PlanetSide 2, you should spend it on at least 1 month's membership. It helps out the developers. You get 500 Daybreak cash. And, I mean, let's say, just as an example, you take your $25, hard-earned $25 in your hand, and you put $14.99 into a membership. You basically have $10 left over. If you take that last $10 and you throw it into station cash, you now have, for all intents and purposes, 1,500 Daybreak cash, because $10 turns into 1,000 Daybreak cash, and you're getting the 500 Daybreak cash for being a member. Now, with that 1,500 Daybreak cash, you should, when the double XP weekend comes around, you should spend some of that Daybreak cash on a experience boost and a squad experience boost if you don't have any of those. I mean, they make 1-day boosts for both of them. The 1-day XP boosts cost 250 Daybreak cash minus 10%. The 1-day squad experience boost costs 350, again, minus 10%. If you're playing on a member, you buy those on your member's double XP weekend, and you buy 2 1-days or you buy 2 3-days. Well, they don't make a 3-day squad experience. So I guess if you want to really maximize your money, you buy a 3-day experience boost for 399 Daybreak cash, and you buy a 7-day squad experience boost for 699 Daybreak cash. And then you apply both of those in your slot A and slot B, and then during double XP weekend, you're getting 400 plus XP and you're leveling up a lot faster, you're earning a lot more certs. And then, you've got a little bit of cash left over, Daybreak cash left over, like 400, give or take. Again, I'm just doing quick math on this one. You can use that 400 to unlock something else in the game or just sit on it. And maybe you do another month's member. You got another $25 next month. You do the same thing all over again, or even $15 next month. You do the same thing all over again, and you buy some more boosts with it. So again, the answer to it is that the best use of your money right now in PlanetSide 2 is to spend it on membership, not on guns, not on loot boxes, not on implant packs, or anything like that. Spend it on membership. So I hope that helps some people who are thinking of using their money to help the developers and get some rewards for doing it within PlanetSide 2 itself. So with that, let's move on to our 4th and final topic this week. And that last topic, God, I didn't expect this week's show to go as long as it is for a week with no news, but it's good to talk about stuff that's going on not that's going on in game, but topics that a lot of people are asking questions about. And this last topic is another big one because there are a lot of new players to the game, or a lot of returning players to the game that played it for a little while or never played it at all if they're a brand new player. But I'm talking about the people coming back to the game, played for a little while and then haven't picked up the game since and are playing it again and don't really know what their loadouts should be for PlanetSide 2. And I've seen quite a few people suggesting that people go over to the PS2 info subreddit and the infantry mentors in the PlanetSide 2 community Discord actually put together a couple, what they consider to be the recommended stuff for some of the different classes, and I'm going to include a link to that in this week's show. So again, if you're a new player or a returning player, they've got what they think is the quintessential heavy assault class or heavy assault loadout for a new player or a returning player. They have the combat medic one, they have the light assault one, and they also have the infiltrator one. The only one that they don't have is the engineer, which I'm disappointed that they don't have the engineer because, as you guys know, engineer is my main class. So I'm not going to spend as much time talking about the 4 that they've listed, but I'm going to talk about what I think is probably your best bet for an engineer class within the game itself, because you guys can go and read. Again, if you go to reddit.com/r/ps2 info, again, I'll include a link in this week's show notes, you can see what they recommend for those other 4 classes. But again, they have nothing for engineer. But the good news is, like I said, I am an engineer main in PlanetSide 2. I can help you out. So without further ado, my recommendation if you want to play engineer is to go the following route. So let's start with the most important piece of the engineer's toolkit, and that's going to be your gun. If you're playing VS, I'd recommend the Serpent. I guess you could also use the Pulsar. The Pulsar is what you get automatically. For TR, either the Track 5, that's the starting weapon, or the Jaguar is a good choice. If you're playing NC, my favorite carbine is the GD7F. I think it's a beast, but again, that one costs money. AF-19 Mercenary, and I was wrong on the VS one. You don't get the Pulsar, you get the Solstice. I don't know why I said that. But again, there's the guns that you should look at. Again, I've played NC more than anything else. Love the GD7F, my favorite weapon. But again, the Mercenary isn't terrible either. Next are your attachments. We all get the 1X Reflex for free, so you should be equipping that. I always recommend the advanced laser sights with any of the carbines. Also soft point ammo if you can use it. As for the barrel attachment, I don't use either the flash suppressors or the regular suppressor on them. I mean, I guess that's a personal opinion. For me, you can use one of those if you want to. I'd probably go flash suppressor. Next we'll talk about pistol. You should grab a commissioner or an underboss. Those are really your best choices. Put a 1X scope on that. Again, you get that for free. And add a laser sight to those. Also, you can also add the flashlight if you want to, if you're specifically hunting infiltrators, but laser sight is your best to go with that. Your ability slot in the engineer is either going to be the anti-infantry turret or Spitfire. Again, Spitfire costs money. You're getting the anti-infantry turret for free, so you should probably start with the anti-infantry turret. For the suit, I would recommend going with nano-weave armor. The advanced shield capacitor is an interesting item, but it doesn't compare with nano-weave at this point. For the grenades for the engineer, you should be using sticky grenades. Yes, you're going to have to unlock them. If you're using utility, I prefer the anti-infantry mines. That's your Bouncing Betty. That's your proximity mine. That's your Claymore. Again, that's what I prefer, but I think that the wall is probably a better choice for newer players. Again, I like the anti-infantry mines, but I'd probably go with the wall instead. Then if you're going to talk about implants on the characters themselves, if you're using the anti-infantry turret, you should probably pick up robotics technician and jockey. If you're using the Spitfire, the ones that we like to run with in B-Way is Safeguard and Assimilate. But certainly, I know a lot of people use Cat-like. I use Cat-like as well. I would probably swap one of those two out with Cat-like. But I think rather than using the Spitfire, you should probably be using the anti-infantry turret. And if that's the case, jockey and robotics technician is the way that you want to go. So other than that, your next steps on the engineer really should be to try to max out your engineer tool, because that's really, really important for you to repair things faster. Other than that, everything else is just how you want to do your loadout for engineer. I mean, you could unlock tank mines, you can get the Spitfire, you can get the anti-vehicle turret, you can get both the regular gates and the secondary hard light barrier. I keep calling it gates, I'm sorry. You can get the hard light barrier. You can even unlock the secondary hard light barrier if that's what you really wanted to do. If you want to start hunting maxes, you can grab an archer as a primary weapon. But what I've given you is probably a good starting point if you're a brand new player. So take that as it is. So again, all the other classes are covered really well under the link in this week's show, so you can definitely check that there. But with that, let's finish up this week's show and move on to housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
So no emails, no voicemails, no nothing like that this week. Just had the messages from Lex and FaborOne that I talked about at the beginning of this week's show. And I just want to close this week's show to you two again saying thank you very much for thinking about me this week. Especially Lex, because I know you hate PlanetSide 2 with such a passion. Even though I know you play it, you still hate it, and I'm really appreciative that you would still think of me and make a donation to me. And again, FaborOne, just for saying that I'm going to be the first person you're going to make a donation to with your YouTube cash. What better way to put it? From your monetization from your ad revenue. I can't thank you enough for that. And again, both of you, I'm really humbled that both of you would think of me. And again, everybody in the past who has as well. And again, I'd love it if more of you did that to me. Throw a couple dollars my way. I've already got next year paid for, but anything is certainly appreciated, and you will get my thanks like I'm giving to Lex and FaborOne this week. But that's it for this week's show. So how can you get in touch with me or the show? First stop should always be my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. You can also email me at instantactionshow@gmail.com. Call me, leave me a voicemail at 347-4VM-4PS2. Those digits, again, are 347-486-4772. And finally, please follow the show on Twitter at InstActPodcast. But in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. And finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that Join Combat, formerly known as Instant Action button. Derringer out.
Get your arms combined.